Well, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Bob. Welcome to another of these exceptional conversations with distinguished historians, and special treat for me to get out of the 19th century for a while. Particularly with you, Bob, because it's always such a personal delight and a true learning experience to be with you wherever we get together, and I'm just thrilled to be able to share the pleasure of your company with so many of our friends from Albany, where, of course, we can start our conversation because you began coming up here, I guess, among other things, to discuss the original bridge to nowhere, the Rye Oyster Bay Bridge. What did you expect when you arrived in this town? What did you do? Whom did you see? How did you get started?
Oh, I was then, a kid. And I came up because Robert Moses was wanting to build a bridge from Rye to Oyster Bay. And the paper had me look into it, and I discovered it was one of the world's worst ideas. Among other things, it would have generated so much traffic that it would have required 8 additional lanes on the Long Island Expressway, already rather crowded, just to hold the traffic from the bridge, and the bridge itself would have had to have been so big that the piers would have interfered with the tidal flow in Long Island Sound and caused water pollution. So I came up here and found that everybody seemed to understand what a bad idea it was. The governor, I spoke to the Assembly Speaker, the President of the Senate and all, and I wrote a story to that effect that it was dead, and went back and thought I was ready for my next assignment. And a couple of weeks later, I had a friend who worked up here and said, "Bob, you better come back up here." And I said, "Oh, I don't think that's necessary. I think it's all been taken care of." And he said, "No," he says, "Robert Moses was up here yesterday, and I think you better come back." And I'll never forget walking into the gallery of the Assembly as it voted by some vote like 134-3 to approve whatever stage he was in of that bridge. And I remember thinking that night, gee, I'm trying to write about political power, and I don't understand anything about it, because here was a man who was never elected to anything, and he has enough power to turn the entire state government around in an entire day. So where did that power come from? No one seemed to know, and I certainly didn't know. I mean, at that time, when I started the Power Broker, there wasn't a single book, and in fact, not even a magazine article that examined public authorities as a source of political power. And that's, of course, where Moses got he created public authorities in their modern form. So I said, that's what I want to do. So I sent off a proposal. I only knew one editor at a publishing house in New York, and I sent him a proposal for this book. And he gave me what my wife was always calling the world's smallest advance, which I think, and I quit to do the book. Sure.
So you say you're interested in power. I almost hate to leave Moses, but we've got to give Lyndon Johnson his due here. What made you turn to Johnson as the next subject? What inspired you?
Well, yeah, as I said, I did the Power Broker not because I wanted to do a biography of Robert Moses, because I wanted to use his life to examine political power, in his case, urban political power, and I wanted to do national political power next, and I thought Johnson understood that better than anyone, so if I used his life, I could show that.
You've addressed the subject of power with such energy and such really stupendous determination and fairness and ingenuity, and I think sort of a dispassionate grace that is unparalleled in history writing. By writing truth about power, I think you've empowered generations of New Yorkers to sort of speak truth to power. You have changed the dynamic about how America, well, anyone who's read the book, but certainly how New York determines its future. So I think in the end, I really mean this, not just because we're friends, but you've taught us so much about the last half of the 20th century that I don't think that there's any historian who has better informed or prepared us about how to deal with the 21st century. So Bob, Caro, thank you.
Thank you.